In this segment, we're going to finish the fence and we're going to add also some rails that are going to connect them between the posts. So to do a little bit of house cleaning, I'm going to first of all rename the for each begin, just get rid of the one and add POC for point on curve. Can do that also here at the end. And in order for this to work, I am going to need to align the pickets to the curve itself. So to do that, we're going to copy the align normals to curve that we had above in this area and put it under the for each end POC. So select it, press Alt, drag it below and connect the two. And for proper naming conventions, I'm just going to type align picket normals to curve. Always maintain good naming conventions. It will help you in case you ever need to find the nodes that you need. So we're going to do a similar thing where we're going to drop in a for each primitive, just like we did before, and connect the align picket normals to it. Just going to bring down my pickets down here so they're easy to set up. And to place them, what I need to do is effectively look at the segment of my curve. I'm going to put the display points in here, and I'm also going to template where my posts are. So if you look at the segment of the curve, all the points that you see is where the pickets are going to be positioned, except that I don't want them to be on the points where the posts are going to be placed. So I need that point to that point. That's really easy to do. We're going to drop in a blast node. Blast. Put it here. And if you leave it as is, it's going to delete the whole curve, which is fine. So I'm going to rename this remove first and last points. And to do that, actually, this is one of the more useful little tricks that you will find when dealing with curves and points and so on. First of all, we have to change the group type to points. Okay, so be specific about what it is that you want to remove. And the group, we're going to type the following. 0 is going to be always the first point in your curve. And to grab the last one, you're going to put a backtick and you're going to type endpoints, open parentheses, 0, close parentheses, -1, and then put a backtick again. This tells Houdini to go from the first point again, which is by 0 index will always be 0. And then endpoints is no matter how many points you have, this little command will always grab the very last point that you have present. If you want to grab the point before last, you're going to put a -2 and so on. So as you see, it removed the point that was where the posts were, and now we're left pretty much with a clean curve, and that's where we're going to copy our pickets to. So type in a copy to points where we are going to connect the blast to the target points to copy, and we're going to put the picket position, so this node, grab it here, and then connect that to the for each end, and there you go. We've got ourselves our picket fence. Again, if you go up to the picket spacer, and you play around with the spacing, you can see that you can control the gap that exists between them. So the smaller you make it, the less pickets you have, and the larger, the more pickets. Okay, so fully controllable and procedural. So that's for the pickets. So really straight, nothing complicated. Again, I'm going to rename the for each begin to for each begin pickets, and for each end pickets, just to keep track of everything. Now, to do this properly, rather than templating the posts, we obviously want to connect them. So I'm going to drop in a merge node and merge posts and pickets. So grab this down, grab this one over, get rid of the template, and there we go. We've got ourselves the fence. Now, one thing that you might want to do is add a rail, and this is very typical when you see fences. There's always that horizontal rail or two that holds the pickets together. So for aesthetics, I'm going to look at my picket. I'm going to make this size in Z a little bit narrower, so maybe 0.2. No, actually that's the wrong one. So 0.4. The size in X, let's make it 0.1. So they're a little bit thinner in relation to the posts. Okay, so let's create the rails. The rails themselves are going to be another box object. So let me move this out of the way here, and I'm going to create them. So let's create box, call it rails. For the size of the rails, I'm going to use size X 0.05. Okay, so let me put the display on this so you can see it. So 0.05 for the height, let's say 0.3. And for the length, now this is where the tricky part is. We want to make sure that the length, the size in Z of the rail actually goes from post to post, right? So whenever we get to this stage, come on, we want to ensure that the rails are going to span the whole length of the pickets between the posts. So in this case, what we need to do is actually grab all the information that we have that basically was fed to this for each begin pickets. Okay, because up until this point, we have the length of the curve. So we started the loop for the pickets. We need the length from here. And again, we're going to use the arclen command as we did over here. Remember, so the arclen, it grabs the length of a curve segment. So we're going to put that inside the rail in the Z axis. So in the Z axis, yes, I was right. So in here, you're going to type the following: arclen, and then open parentheses, open quotes, dot, dot, /, and what we want is the for each begin pickets. See why naming is important? Just makes your life a little bit easier. Close it with a quote, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, 1, close parentheses, and you can see immediately that the length has been adjusted here. Okay, so it goes from 10 to -10, which is the length of that first segment. Okay, and then we're going to loop it so it's going to adapt itself to each one of the curve segments. So that's great. We have the first rail. Now, for this demo, I'm going to use 2 rails, and I'm going to put 1 rail at the bottom and 1 rail at the top of the segment of the pickets. Actually, the pickets seem to be a little bit too short, so I'm just going to make them a little bit taller, 2.5. There we go. It looks a little bit better. So, how do we do this? We are going to grab a transform node. And this transform is going to be called rail bottom. Going to connect it to the rails. And what we need from it basically is to get a couple of details from both the pickets and the posts. Okay? So the first one we're going to grab because we want to put this rail behind our pickets and make sure that they are flush against them. So in the translate Z, we're going to do the following. We're going to type bbox to grab the bounding box of our picket. And we're going to use the X max value of it. If you leave it as is right now, it's going to basically put it right in the middle. And you can see it if we actually add the rails to our for loop. I'm just going to do that so you can see the end result. So I'm going to press tab. I'm going to put another copy 2 points. And this is copy 2 points rails. This is again copy 2 points pickets. I'm going to grab the for each begin, put it here. The rail bottom, I'm going to put it here. And in order to get both of these, I'm going to put a merge. And do this, do that, that. And there you go. You can start seeing something. Just focus on one. So you can see the rails, they're not positioned obviously where they should be, but you can see that they're actually intersecting our pickets. So in order to position them properly, let's go back to the rail bottom. So we have this Dmax. What I need to do is to move it also a little bit back. So we're going to add to that the bounding box of the rail itself at Xmax. So type plus bbox. Now the rail, we can simply put a 0 because we're referencing ourselves in effect, comma d underscore Xmax. And if you've done this properly, you'll notice that it now shifted over a little bit, which is great. Okay, so far so good. It's working as it should be. Those are a little bit too long, and I don't know what's going on, but hopefully we will not hopefully, we'll definitely fix it, and I know exactly why. You can see here there's a bunch of them, and we'll get to that in a second. So the next thing that we want to do also is to move this rail so it's a little bit higher up. And for that, we are going to use, in the translate Y, we're going to use the size in Y of the post, and we're going to put a multiplier. So I'm going to type the following, CH, for channel, open parentheses, open quotes, dot, slash posts. Okay. And from the post, we need to grab the size Y. Okay. Close quotes, close parentheses. Now, if we leave it as this, so simply by size Y, it's going to move our rail right to the top of the post, which is not what I want. I want to actually bring it lower. So I'm going to put a multiplier in here. So multiply it times a smaller number, let's say 0.15, and there you go. It's just going to be copied down here, which is good. I mean, this number, you can always change it to whatever you want. So I'll make it a little bit taller. You can put a 0.2, and you see how it shifts up. So for our purposes, this is pretty decent. Now, we need to do also the top rail. So for that, it's very simple. We're going to grab our rail bottom, press Alt, copy it over, and we're going to call this rail top. Okay, so same thing. And here, the only difference is when you grab the multiplier. So instead of 0.2, you're going to put a little bit higher. So let's say 0.7. Okay, so just going to move it a little bit higher. And then we're going to merge those two. So drop in the merge node, merge rails. Okay, and connect the bottom, connect the top, and then grab the merge and put it in here. So you can now see that we have those rails. See, they are top and bottom, which is awesome. And the numbering for the top, you can make it a little bit lower, 0.6. You can also actually use, instead of the post, you can, let me try something. Let me try the pickets themselves. Picket. Instead of post, yeah. So the picket will make the rails relative to the pickets, which actually might make a little bit more sense. So we can put that at 0.8. Even better. Okay, so instead of posts, we're going to use pickets, and that solves it. Great. So we now need to properly position them. So as you see in here, it's a bit of a mess. They're kind of going all over the place, and we don't like that. So how do we fix that? Well, the first thing that we need to do is actually we need to resample the number where we want to place these rails. The problem that we see in here, especially if you zoom in, you're going to see that it's actually segmented. That means that on every single point of the pickets, we have like a mini rail and they're overlapping each other. So that's actually really bad. What I effectively want to do is, if I go back here to my original curve, okay, and I look at the points, I want to grab a curve segment. Okay, so let's focus on this particular one. I want to grab a curve segment, and I want to resample it so I only grab a single point. I don't need all the points in here. I just need one point. Now, I'll show you how we're going to go about doing this. So I'm just going to drop a resample node. going to put it here. And let's call this resample rails. Okay, so let's organize this a little bit better. Now, for the resample rails, again, I'm going to uncheck maximum segment length. I'm going to put maximum segments, and I'm going to start reducing that number. Okay, there we go. You set it to 2 segments. It's going to give you 3 points. So technically the segments and the points on it are always 1 plus the number of segments. So if you have 2 segments, you're going to get 3 points, which is basically what we want. So by setting it to 2 segments, we get point in the beginning, point in the middle, point in the end. And the one that I want is specifically that last point. Sorry, that middle point. So let's put in a blast node. In here. And because this is a known number of points, right? If I enable the number of points, you see 0, 1, 2. So all I want is to get rid of, in the blast, get rid of 0 and 2. We're not going to be resampling this to anything higher. We're only going to set the segments to 2. So 0 and 2 should be blasted away. So remove first and last rail points. The difference between this blast and this one is here the number of pickets is unknown. That's why we use endpoint 0 -1. But here, because it's a known number, so we only have 3 points, it's just going to make it a lot easier to set up. So again, I'm going to set the groups to points. And at the group, I'm going to put 0 and 2. And what this does effectively is leave a single point. And by doing that, notice what happened. If we go up here, if I get rid of this or bypass it, you're going to see that our rails are still kind of flying all over the place. But as soon as I enable that, boom, it's exactly the length of the segment. So simple logic, and it makes it work without too much complication. But this is again the beauty of working with Houdini. You just need to follow the logic in this case. So that's pretty much it for our fence. You got all the segments, you got the rails, and you can see that the rails are properly set. So they're flush against our pickets, they're behind them, and they're the length that we want. So they overlap a little bit, just like you would in a real fence. But yeah, it's looking really good. And the cool thing is that you can go back again to the picket spacer. Actually, just for organization, I'm just going to make this one bright green so I know where it is at all times instead of kind of hunting for it. And as you play around with the values, it will adapt itself. So we're going to wrap it up here, and in the next video I will show you some additional tricks. I mean, ultimately what you want is to create an interface to control that. You don't want to do it directly from the node, so that will be also another component that we're going to add to this fence. That's it. Thank you.